6:22 on Game Points with Matthew Ross. Welcome back to the show, TSN 990. Let's bring in our hockey expert. He's the editor-in-chief of thefourthperiod.com. You can follow him on twitter.com/thefourthperiod. It is Mr. Dave Pagnotta. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm very well, Dave. This weekend I thought about a conversation you and I had on this program a few weeks ago, where you were, guy from Montreal. You always want the best for the Canadiens, and you said they have to pick Galchenyuk. They have to pick him.
Right.
They did it, Dave. They did it. Are you happy?
I was beyond ecstatic. I had a bit of a rough day. I was supposed to make it to the draft. It never went that way for me.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the airlines decided, nope, you're staying where you are.
Oh, my goodness.
Luckily, that place that I was Las Vegas, so
Yeah, nothing to do there, huh?
No, there was absolutely nothing. So
you sat at the airport playing the slot machines, right?
I was poolside. I'm not gonna lie. I was poolside, and when the Habs made their selection, I was probably the loudest person in Las Vegas that day.
Was there any chance the Canadiens were going to pick anybody else? Because from all the people that were weighing in on it, all the various sources, everyone kind of pointed to Galchenyuk.
Yeah, it looked like he was absolutely number one on their radar, and they obviously have come out and said that he was their number one pick. He was the guy that they were going to take.
But that's cliche, though, isn't it? I mean,
right. And you really never know. I think if Yakupov was available at 3, chances are they would have swung in that direction, just based on all the information that's available right now. But again, long term, I firmly believe that Alex Galchenyuk will be the best player out of this draft, definitely the best forward. And, obviously time will tell, but the Canadiens certainly hit a huge home run, a grand slam with this selection.
Now, Dave, we're chatting with Dave Pagnotta of thefourthperiod.com. We had a caller calling in talking about whether or not he would play this fall. Galchenyuk, of course, wants to give it a shot. I brought up the fact that he really hasn't played a full season since he was 17 years old, and to ask him to play against NHL-sized and quick players might be a little much. And he brought up a great example of Sean Couturier having a very significant injury and coming in anyway at the age of 18 and making a big impact.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. I mean, the Canadiens are not going to say, listen, buddy, we love you, we think you're great, but you really need to play some extra minutes and some more games down in the O. There's no way they're going to say that. If this kid comes out in training camp and really blows everybody out of the water, like a lot of people expect him to do, there's an excellent chance that he's going to stick with the big club and make the full-time roster, at least for the start of the season. The Canadiens are in an interesting position, and Marc Bergevin and his staff are in a very interesting position where they seem to be going after and are looking right now for some other assets to bring into the organization. Now, I don't think there's going to be too much activity via the free agency wire, but on the trade perspective, they are looking and have been looking at bringing in some additional pieces. The Canadiens obviously could use some help in the secondary scoring department and possibly even first scoring department. And with Pacioretty and Eric Cole taking up most of the offense, they need some help in that second line. And if Galchenyuk makes the team, he'll be their second-line pivot. And if they can bring in somebody to play alongside him, then they're going to do, Marc Bergevin is going to do all he can to make that happen.
Dave, we've been talking about Thomas Buchanan as well, a guy who's making $5 million a year and a good team player, but certainly not an elite offensive talent, though very good in any situation on the ice. And to me, he's a prototypical third-line center on a contending Stanley Cup team. The question is whether or not the Canadiens would get him to buy into that, still getting minutes on the PK and the PP anyway, so his ice time would still be up there. Is he a name that they're dangling out there, do you think, to bring in other players, or is there a plan potentially to maybe put him as a third-line center if Galchenyuk makes it?
I think he's definitely – no, actually, I don't think that's the case. I think he's definitely available, but the Canadiens aren't actively shopping him. He's somebody that if a team is looking for a solid centerman and legit number 2 centerman, which is realistically what he is, he can play first-line minutes, but all in all, the guy is a legit second-line player. And if you have that ability to where you're having him as your third-line player, you've got a hell of a deep roster. So I think the Canadiens are willing to and have been willing to entertain offers. Nothing's really blown them out of the water, and as of now, they're going to stick with him unless something comes about. And I think a lot of the activity is going to revolve. We're going to see a bit of a domino effect over the course of the next couple of weeks to see where Zach Parise ends up and then where Rick Nash ends up, and then the backups at that point, how things kind of fall into place. Where's Bobby Ryan going to end up? Are they going to keep him and end up moving Ryan Getzlaf? How does that affect Thomas Plekanec? I mean, this is a situation for the Canadiens where they don't have to rush anything, and they're more than content with keeping Plex in the lineup as well. And if that comes down to it, then you're going to see Galchenyuk in a third-line role probably, but not necessarily getting third-line minutes. I think it's just a matter of them trying to spread things out evenly amongst the guys they have on the club.
Dave, a lot of talk about the Canadiens' first pick in the second round. Great value, say, in Sebastian Kohlberg, the right winger. Your thoughts on him, if you have any knowledge on him?
Unfortunately, I know a little bit about him. I mean, I know, first of all, I think this was, and I've been reading some of the papers and some of the stories online about how well the Canadiens came out of this draft, and I think they definitely did very well. I think they got really lucky, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, this is a kid that probably a lot of people that I spoke to thought that he was going to go at the bottom of the first round, and for him to be available where he was is another smash for the Habs. They're starting to create a lot of offensive depth, which is an area that I know we've talked about a number of times that the Canadiens absolutely and desperately need to improve upon. Their defense, their young defensive core, the young kids coming up are excellent, and there's going to be a lot of depth on that blue line for a number of years to come. They've got Carey Price between the pipes, so technically there's really nothing to worry about in that respect either. So with the blue line and your goaltending in check, it's all about the offense down the road, and that's exactly what Marc Bergevin, Trevor Timmins, and everybody else were focused on primarily in this draft.